All right, good afternoon, good day to everybody. Welcome to another great Sunday action-packed, ISRL Esports Sunday, I guess. We are starting off here today, as always, with Tier 3, and today is one hell of a Grand Prix, or at least we're hoping it's going to be a good one, because it is the Italian Grand Prix. We are in Monza. So, welcome everyone again. My name is Dimitri, and I'm BLIN-MACHINE as usually, as you guys know me. And here with me again is Knight. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm not bad. I'm happy. We're in Italy. It's always a good race. And I think we're going to see a lot of action on track today. It never disappoints here.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and we've got quite a few people out on track already. Mason Harris has set the provisional pole lap time so far of 121.4. We've got Eisen with a 122.5. And right now, watching on board with Joseph Cozy as he's coming to the end of his lap. Let's see how he's going to go here through the Parabolica and coming up to the line. What sort of a time is he going to be able to put on here?
Let's see. Joseph Cozy, yeah, 122.45. Not a bad time from him, but he's more of a race pace kind of guy. I think we're going to see him do better in the long runs rather than outright pace in qualifying.
Yeah, and this is round 5 of this season 2 of ISRL. As I said, this is Tier 3. So far in this tier, we've seen a lot of different upsets and ups and downs for a lot of our drivers. And one of them right now has just crossed the line, IGKX. This is only his 3rd Grand Prix, but he's been showing some interesting things on track.
Yeah, 3rd Grand Prix actually, but only 2nd one in this tier because he does also compete in Tier 4. So he's had a bit of a practice run yesterday, hoping to convert that into some results today. He has experience racing. He used to race in some Ferraris in real life, so he's definitely no stranger to the track, but still yet to score some points in Tier 3. So he's going to want to change that today.
Yeah, and so far we've got some usual names up at the top of the board. Lorenzo has put in a 119.644, which is very, very quick on this track, and very quick for a first lap. And then G. Begular, 120.0. Now, he's one driver that unfortunately did not have much luck in the last couple of Grand Prix, had to fight his way back and claw back at positions after having some incidents and little moments here and there. What do you expect from him today?
Honestly, nothing short of a podium. He did end up getting the win in the record books after last week's race in Japan. Lewis taking a penalty for that little incident that they had. So he did get his 25 points last week, but he's still only 2nd place in the standings, still trailing Lewis by 6 points. So he's got to outscore him today if he wants to take the lead in the championship. There's still 2 races left after this, though. So as long as he finishes close to Lewis, he's just trying to keep his title hopes alive.
Yeah, still got some points up for grabs here today, so we're expecting our drivers to start pushing very, very soon. Everybody has pretty much set out their first laps so far. G. Begular is actually continuing on another lap on that same soft tire, and so far he's actually put in a beautiful first sector and has gone purple, now getting his back twitching a little bit on the exit of the first Lesbo, and then up into the DRS zone now, going up to the next chicane. The next chicane is one hell of a chicane. It's the Ascari corner, and you gotta get it really nicely on the inside curb, right the outside curb, but then gotta make sure you don't lose the back coming out of that corner. And now only the Parabolica to go, and so far he's put in a pretty good time.
Yeah, this track, it's all about carrying your speed. So as long as you're able to keep your car with touching that brake pedal as minimal as possible, going through corners like Ascari and the Parabolica, you're going to get set a pretty good lap time like that. That's 119.5 for G. Begular. Yeah, they don't call this one the Temple of Speed for nothing. He's definitely showing why you can go so quick around this track.
Yeah, I mean, this track is pretty much just a bunch of straight lines separated by a couple of chicanes and really long curving corners, which you can carry a lot of speed through as well. Now, in terms of setup, I know, me personally, I usually go for a low downforce setup, but I make my suspension nice and soft so I can sort of come into those corners at speed. What else do you think in terms of setup would be something that you would recommend the drivers look into?
Well, like you said, I think suspension is pretty crucial here because there's a lot of curbs that you want to be able to ride. We see in the Lesmos, you can kind of ride those corners on the entry and the exit, and then through a scar, you want to be able to take as much on the inside as you can to not lose much speed. So if you can get your suspension a little bit softer, that's going to be a big win. And aero, that's the other. There's two big crucial points here, just like you mentioned. You get your aero low. And if you have too much drag on the straights, you're kind of a sitting duck, and there's a lot of them here. So you want to be able to follow other cars in their slipstream and make it pretty hard for other people to follow you in yours.
And now Lewis is coming into the first chicane, and corners turns 1 and 2 now done and dealt with, and he is going now into the Curva Grande over here and coming into turn 3, which is going to be Variante de Rogia. Very, very interesting names for all of the corners around this track, and I always love pronouncing all of them because they're so Italian and so full of passion. So now we're coming into the Lesmos 1, and he's kissing the inside apex, getting a pretty good run through there. He doesn't seem to be pushing too hard on this lap. I'm not sure if he's just trying to get tire pressure or tire temperatures and then really push on the next one, but yeah, it doesn't even look like he's really using ERS or anything.
No, I saw him recharging his battery there. It's possible that maybe he got through the first chicane not as good as he was hoping for, and had to kind of abort that lap, try again next time. It'll be interesting to see if he goes on these tires, if he pits for a new set. 7 minutes left in qualifying. He might have time for another run after this one. It looks like he is going to be going out for another lap here.
He is continuing on, so now let's see what he can do with an actual quick lap time here with a hot lap. He's coming across the first, he's coming down the first straight right now into the first corner, into the first chicane. This one is very, very tricky. You got to slow down the car a lot after going very, very fast down the straight there, and then get through that chicane, kissing pretty much all of the apexes and get good rotation. It doesn't seem like he's really pushing on this one either, but he's going to come to the end of the first sector now, and he does... not sure what 25.1. I'm not sure if that is saying that correctly, but that would be very quick if that is correct.
That indeed, that would be pretty quick. Lewis just got the fastest sector in sector 1. That was a 25.9. So if that is a 25.1, that is a very, very quick lap. Noah, IGKX, he looks like he's had a problem coming out of Ascari.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 3 retirements already. Klunenberg, IGK, Joe Dimas, and Yan92. All of them have retired from the session. And now ISRL Lewis has unfortunately lost the car there and invalidated his lap. And then there was also a spun around Alfa Romeo parked at the exit of Ascari there, or at the entry. Yeah. So
that was IGKX. Looked like he just had some sort of issue on the way out and spun the car around. It didn't look like he had terminal damage, but that car was not moving.
And Lewis is continuing on for another lap. Now Lorenzo is actually out on a quick lap right now, and he's coming into Parabolica, about to finish his lap. Let's see what sort of a time this is going to be. He's not far off from G. Begular on pole at the moment. He only really needs about a 10th. And it's not going to be enough on that occasion.
No, not going to improve his lap time either. So Lorenzo's going to have to try again. He's got 5 minutes to get back to the pits, get some new tires on the car, and get back out there. So we should see him back out on track. Hartman, I just saw him zoom by that Ferrari there. I believe, yeah, he is on a hot lap right now. He's got his best time at a 1:22.5. Bit of a frustrating birthday weekend for him in Japan last week. I'm sure we remember that. So we're going to try not to mention him too much here, but he's going to be looking to bounce back from that. Let's switch away from him personally. I'm going to stop thinking about him right now before I give him another jinx or commentator's curse.
All right, well, let's just ride on board until he finishes up this lap here. He goes through the second Lesmo now onto the DRS zone, opens up the DRS, and now going on the run down the hill into Ascari. Let's see if he's going to be able to get a good run. He's currently a 2.3 tenths off well, I mean, on top of pole. So he's actually currently running purple sectors through first and the second sector as well. And now the long run down to the Parabolica, and then you just got to make it smoothly around there and down to the line. And this might be a very good lap for him. We've got 4 minutes to go in qualifying still. So I see G Bagular just coming out on an outlap, Mavako, Balazandru, and Jamar Mario all on outlaps at the moment. And Hartman goes 10th into 121.3.
Yeah, so Hartman setting a new personal best by 1.3 seconds, like you said. He's got himself up into 10th, and if he hurries up, he might be able to get another one in. But the way it's looking right now, I think he might end up getting free tire choice here. It's good for him. It's a soft to medium strategy around this track, barring some safety cars too early on, because it's quite hard to make the medium tires last more than 20 laps here. So if you can get started on those harder tire compounds, I think Hartman might actually end up getting some benefits from starting outside the top 10.
And while we were chatting there, Thomas has just put in a provisional pole time. It was 119.526, beating G Bagular by just about 40 thousandths of a second. And now G Bagular has just started his hot lap, coming into turns 1 and 2 as we speak right now, getting a huge ride on the inside curve with turn 1, but getting a huge exit as well and keeping the back together, getting good traction on the exit of that corner. And now into Curva Grande, making it pretty good through there as well. Now on the round down to the second chicane, and it is showing a purple sector at the moment for him. Oh no, never mind. That was a glitch on my system.
Oh, okay. I got scared for him a little bit there. No, it's so tight at the top there. We're looking, the top 3 separated by just 1/100th of a second, or 1/10th of a second rather. And yeah, it's just inches separating these cars. G Bagular is going to be looking to get past his teammate here. Neither of them giving each other a tow, so I don't think any of them want to really help the other get past here. I think they're going to stay pretty competitive today.
Yeah, and he just got a really bad exit on the second part of Ascari, and I think he turned down the DRS and turned down his pace, and he's going to try and go for another try here. Is he even going to go pit? I think, yes, he is going into the pits, but
he is going to dive in there.
I don't think he's going to have enough time to go out for another lap here.
No. At this point, if you were allowed to kind of do a regular pit stop where you just drive through, put new tires on, and zoom out of here, he would just make it. So definitely not going to get another lap in. One person I'm surprised we didn't see go back out was Lewis. He set a 1:20.06, and he had plenty of time to go back out on track, but choosing not to do it. I think that's the last Andrew that we just saw leave his pit stall. He's going to cut it very, very close.
And now on board with Eisen here, who's starting out on... Oh, no, he's not going to continue with that one. He's going to abandon as well, so it looks like he's going to be starting towards the back of the grid here. I'm seeing Maivako is out on the out lap. Joseph Cozy is currently coming to the end of his hot lap, and he goes up into 7th place with a 120.6, only about a second off of pole. That is very nice.
Yeah, very good lap from Joseph. We haven't seen that kind of qualifying pace from him so far this season, but looks like he got himself nicely in the midfield for the start of this Italian Grand Prix. He's going to have to be careful going into turn 1. It's quite known for incidents here, but I think if he gets that Red Bull through turn 1, we might finally be seeing a great result from Joseph Cozy.
Alright, so it looks like we've got a few people out on outlaps right now. Thomas Elb, G Bagular, I don't think those two are going to make it. They just came out of the pits right now. But we've got Maivako, who's about to start his outlap here. ISRL Tommy is not far off behind him. And then it looks like Jamar Mario is also possibly going to make it to the line. So we'll see how that works out for them. Let's go on board with Maivako here and see how he's going to get through the first couple of corners on this track and the rest of the lap as well. Coming through turn 1, losing the back wildly, and I think that's pretty much going to hurt him right there. But he might be able to improve on his current time, a 120.7, but that was a huge slide through the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, that's going to cost him a little bit. No traffic, at least for him. He's only 2/10ths down on his time. Ooh, after that slide into that second chicane there, I think that lap is over. He nearly got that car turned completely around. Did a good job saving it out of the wall, though, but not going to improve his lap time here. I'd be hard-pressed to see any improvement in that lap.
Yeah, definitely hurt himself a little bit there on a couple of occasions through the first part of this track. And now let's see here, Dreamer Mario is about to start his hot lap. It looks like Thomas made it through.
I guess so. We have noticed in the past weeks there's been a little bit of a delay between the timers the drivers get, the timers the commentators get. About 10 or so seconds, so sometimes we're going to see someone cross that line and it's over for us, but they don't get that checkered flag. Looks like this is one of those situations.
Yeah, so Codemasters, again, come on, get your game up. We need a commentator mode where we can, you know, not be in spectator mode, but a special mode where we can get extra information that's not displayed on screen. That would be absolutely amazing.
I'd love myself a replay feature, personally.
Yeah, and Thomas up making it through Ascari right now. He's currently sitting on pole, but only by 0.004 of a second, so really small gap there. And then we've also got G Begular, who I think made it through on the line as well, because he's not showing the checkered flag beside him. So he might still be able to beat Thomas here as he's crossing the line now, and he goes a 119.4, so improving just a little bit. But G Begular is right behind him here and catching a little bit of slipstream on Jamar Mario. So I'm not sure if this is gonna all come in handy for him. Let's see if that works. It does. He goes on pole.
So G barely beating his teammate there. If I saw those split times correctly, he got a little bit lucky with kind of a toe from that Williams there, but he ran out of ERS right at the end, and looks like he was just able to squeak that one by. Thomas has a 5-place grid penalty though.
Yeah, I just noticed that as well. So that means he's going to be starting in 7th, and that means Lorenzo will be promoted into 2nd, Klulenberg into 3rd, ISRL Lewis into 4th, Mason Harris will become 6th, and Joseph, benefiting from all of that as well, he'll be promoted to 6th. Now, for the rest of them, we've got Maivako in 8th, ISRL Tommy in 9th, Yend92 in 10th, Hartman in 11th, IGKX in 12th, Jamar Mary in 13th, Joe Dimas in 14th, Balazendro in 15th, and Eisen is going to be starting at the very back of the grid.
And it looks like we just lost Lorenzo there. I saw him leave the session. I hope he can get back in time, because he is starting near the front, and an AI car on that restart would be quite chaotic. Oh, and it would indeed. It is very wet here.
Yes, we are in for a good one today, all of our viewers. I hope you have got your snacks and drinks and everything else ready, because this is going to be definitely a very exciting Grand Prix, as we are going to be starting in Monza in the rain.
And it shows the difference of priorities between a commentator and a driver, because we're sitting here going, yes, this is going to be cool, this is going to be an amazing race, and I feel like all the drivers are sitting there on the grid going, oh my god, I'm going to hate the next hour of my life. And it's going to be absolute chaos going into turn 1. I hope visibility isn't as poor as I think it's going to be, because we're going to see quite a few people misjudging their braking zone, I think.
Yes, and that is probably going to create some possible incidents. Now, another thing that I think now everybody has to consider is, you know, as drivers in the qualifying session, you do get a weather forecast for the race. So it should have been showing them that there's going to be a wet race. But what sort of setup do you think they were qualifying with? Do you think they were qualifying with their regular setup, or did they take that into account and they're starting on a sort of more wet setup?
It'll be interesting to see. I know not everybody runs wet setups for every track. A lot of drivers just take the regular setup and hit that front wing arrow up by 1 or 2. But if they took that into consideration, we might see some people that, you know, they were not performing up to par in qualifying, and they're going to have a lot of pace here in the wet, since their car is just a little bit better suited for that. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe it's not going to be wet this whole race, and some people chose to go with the dry setup anyways, and they're going to be coming out and have a little bit more pace near the end of this Grand Prix.
So we've already got about 5 or 6 cars that got reset to track, but more interestingly, ISRL Lewis is stopped at the exit of the first chicane and he's just stuck on track.
Yeah, it looks like that. Sorry, I'm trying to get Lorenzo back in here. Then I noticed the car go very, very wide in the background. I got a little bit scared. And I thought somebody just sent it off track there.
Yeah. Now, speaking of our pole sitter right now and our first position grid sitter is G. Bigular. He's had an amazing qualifying performance throughout all of the Grand Prix that we've seen him in this league so far, but one thing that he has definitely lacked, at least maybe it was due to luck and fortune, or maybe it was due to concentration, but it just seems like he ends up getting into some sort of incident throughout the race and then has to claw back the sort of pace that he's got and get back the positions that he's lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not the best way to go about getting your points, but he's somewhat made it work. I'm sure he'd much rather stay near the front the whole time, though. Lorenzo looks like he disconnected. We're going to have to see what's happening here. If maybe we're going to restart this session, get him in. I'm just going to try to figure this out quickly.
Yeah, it's showing him in the pits. It's not even showing his car ghosted on... Oh, no, it is. Never mind. Yeah, it's showing his car ghosted on track.
Is he back in there?
No, actually. Yeah, his grid position is empty as we've got the lights coming.
We'll start this race as usual, and we'll figure this out after.
Alright. Oh. ISRL Lewis is now somehow in first, running ahead of everything. I think something definitely glitched out as now G. Bigular is starting from third position on the grid, and they're going into turn 1. We also had the lights glitch, and everything just went completely wrong at the start of that session. G. Bigular runs completely off the track, has to cut the corner. 10-second
restart here.
Yeah, 10-second penalty for him. I think same thing is going to come to Thomas. Yeah, there's Thomas for car recording. 5-second penalty. Klunenberg makes it up to third place now. A little bit hectic there.
Yeah, I just made the call there in the chat. We're just going to get this restarted here because I saw 2 cars disconnect before the start. And there's two people missing at the start of that grid and a lot of lag going on. So we're just going to be better safe than sorry and give everyone a fair shot here.
Alright guys, so we're gonna have to go through a restart. It looks like this keeps on happening to us on Sundays. I think there's sort of a correlation between our incidents and these glitches and the fact that Esports F1 is having their virtual Grand Prix pretty much at the same time. Because I don't think this keeps on happening for like tier 2 or 1. It's usually either tier 3 or 2, the earlier ones.
Yeah, and lots of activity on the Codemasters servers, I think, and it's causing some unwanted side effects for a couple of leagues out there. But let's get this back up. We have the order on stream and everything, so we'll get this loaded up in no time.
Yeah, and I'm just waiting to see our drivers to start leaving the session. We've got a safety car. We know we're going to have a restart, so this is sort of completely unrelated to anything. ISRL Lewis has now somehow dropped down to 16th place and now back to first. Yeah, this is definitely a very, very glitched out start, but bear with us and we'll get another one restarted and we'll have hopefully a better session. Now I'm seeing quite a few of our drivers have started leaving the session.
Yeah, I just sent the first wave of invites out, so we'll just get all of our drivers in, and I need one of them to tell me what the weather was.
We know that we were starting on full wets, and by the look of the skies, it was looking like we're probably going to have that weather to stick, but then again, in this game, you never really know because the weather model is very, very unpredictable.
Yeah, I'm being told by 2 drivers it was wet to dry, so we're gonna go from heavy rain into some clear weather, it looks like.
All right, so now we also have the forecast for the race, or at least the predicted forecast. Again, anything can happen in Codemasters F1 games. For those of you who do play them, you'll probably know that already. For those of you who don't play them, don't worry, it's really not that big of a deal. We deal with it all the time, and we figure out ways around it. And hopefully, F1 has been and Codemasters have been listening to us, especially with all the esports stuff going on recently. I mean, you would imagine that they're probably trying to improve their online sessions as well.
Yeah, you would think so, and it is kind of putting the esports scene on here onto the big screen with obviously with COVID happening, and a lot of people turning into online sports fans to try to get through the boredom, and it's kind of put a spotlight on a lot of these drivers, but it's also put a spotlight on a lot of the issues that these games tend to have. So hopefully for 2020 we're going to see a couple of these bugs fixed, and less tortuously setting up the lobbies very quickly because you're on stream.
Yeah, speaking of putting the spotlight onto esports and especially the motorsports community of esports, I spent the last couple of days just completely glued to the Le Mans, the virtual Le Mans 24-hour race, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. And it was a good mix of real drivers as well as esports drivers and some amateur sort of sim racers that came together and formed teams and been able to get on. I think that has sort of opened up the door for so much more opportunity for a lot more motorsports and esports to come together and really possibly, host a virtual Le Mans 24-hour every year, even though they'll be back to racing.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those few sports where the esports scene can actually have some real-world implications there. Obviously, when you're driving a car virtually, if the physics are right, and you might not be getting the motion in your seat, but it does drive like the real thing for the most part. So, maybe even open up esports as an avenue into proper on-track racing in the future. We know how expensive karting can be. Not everyone can afford it, but it's a lot more affordable to buy a steering wheel and a video game. So,
I think that also puts a big spotlight. Yeah, I think that also puts a big spotlight on the whole diversity situation that it is currently in the world as well. I think that can open up the door for so many drivers from so many different places that possibly are just getting into that right now. I feel like everything is really coming together for esports to be sort of unifying people again, with even things like SpaceX launching their satellites and their internet system that's going to be no dead spots anywhere. Everybody's going to be able to access it. So I think if you put all of those things together, there's a huge platform here for amazing things to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the developing world getting internet to those people, maybe they were going to see some future F1 drivers with some humble beginnings on F1 2019. You never know.
Absolutely, yeah.
It would be very cool to see in 10, 15 years from now.
And the new game is coming out in, I think, about a month or so, even possibly less.
Yeah, a little bit less than that. I think we're 3 weeks away here if you get the Michael Schumacher edition. Launches July 7th, and then the regular one July 10th.
And just reading some comments from the chat, Andrew Ballas is asking for an invite. He said he has not received one yet.
It is coming right now.
Alright guys, so for those of you who have just joined the stream, or possibly you just sort of looked away and then you saw another loading menu again, just to let you guys know, we had a little bit of a messy server start, so we decided to do a restart so that everything can get worked out and be proper. We're going to be restarting here very, very soon. We've got most of the drivers in. I'm seeing some other people joining up right now. There's Andrew, who just joined up as well. Tommy, if you're listening, please select the car. And yeah, I think we should be getting going here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I think most of our drivers are in now. We did have 16 for the start. Looks like we do have 16 in the lobby. Wait, let me put myself into spectator mode. Looks like we're one short. Who's missing?
I see Joseph Hartman. I'm trying to remember. X? Oh no, he's there.
I think Azen needed an invite. Is Azen in at this point?
Azen is here. Mario.
Jamer Mario, is that is who we're missing?
Yes.
All right. I think we've just about sorted it then. We just have to organize the grid. We're going to be right on our way.
All right, perfect. So yeah, for those of you, by the way, who weren't aware that the Le Mans 24-hour virtual was going on, you guys can go and see the broadcast. I mean, the main thing that I really wanted to point out about that one is just the whole, you know, it's looking like that whole community of broadcasting is actually starting to recognize esports as a real thing, and have started putting some thought and effort into that just as much as they put into the real race. They had race control, they had multiple angles on every single car, they kept on switching between, you know, all kinds of different situations on track and everything else like that. The commentary was just non-stop. They had people talking about everything from, you know, from what the drivers are doing and what they have to handle. It pretty much felt like a real race. I was watching it with my kids, and at times they would forget that that's a real race, and they would be like, "Oh my God, he crashed." I'm like, "Oh, it's okay. He can get it fixed up." They're like, "How?"
Yeah.
You know, like, how is that possible? So it looks really real. There's a lot of thought and effort being put into it. I really hope that this is going to be a driving force forward, but I really recommend for everybody to watch that as well, because it was absolutely incredible from start to finish.
Yeah, and it's also opening up the door for a lot of the older generation who might have until now just said, "Oh, well, you know, it's just one of those darn video games." But they're watching this because there's nothing else to watch. They go, "You know what? This there's some good racing here."
Yeah, and as I said, the whole mix of, you know, real drivers and esports drivers, and I love the way that everybody was, you know, they had their cameras set up on their rigs, and they were showing how they're racing on this, and some of them were like set up in like event halls where they had like other people watching them and things. It's really incredible. I think if we can use this to drive it forwards in a couple more years from now, I mean, the games are going to be configured for commentating and everything else like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I am just gonna go mics off for half a second here so I can read this list out to myself, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. I'll be back in just 30 seconds.
No problem at all. We're going to use this time to take a look at what our standings are looking like right now for this tier. So this is tier 3 again, and this is round 5. So after 4 rounds, we currently have... oh no, sorry, that's tier 2. Let's see, tier 3. There we go. So we currently have ISRL Lewis sitting at the top with 45 points, 13 points clear of G Bigular, who is at 39 points. We've then got ISRL Tommy with 34 points, so very, very close battle between those two for second and third at the moment in the overall standings. Lorenzo is not too far behind as well with 26, and the way that he's been doing recently, he might definitely put on a charge for the lead very, very soon here. Hartman Esports is tied with Klunenberg for 5th place with 24 points at the moment, and then Mason Harris in 7th has 19. Killing for Cash, 18 points. ISRL Joseph in 9th place with 17 points, so very close between them all the way up to 7th place here with Mason Harris. If you have a good performance, they might even be able to jump up to about 5th or 4th, depending on how Hartman and Klunenberg do today. And then running down the grid there, we've got in 10th position Thomas Elp currently in the standings with 12 points. Azen in 11th with 12 as well. Ivor Bryn Mike with 10, Jamar Mario with 8, Joe Dimas with 6, Myvaco with 6, Mudek with 4, D10 has 4, Yend92 4, and IGKX and Ballas Andrew are the two drivers have not been able to get points on the board just yet. But also talking about the standings for the Constructors' Championship. It is a hugely close battle between the first 3 teams. They're not the usual first three teams that we would see in the real Formula One. We have Mercedes currently leading with 71, Renault tied with 71 points as well, Ferrari with 70 points, and then quite a bit of a gap down to McLaren in fourth with 49 points, Williams 42 in fifth position, Toro Rosso in 6th with 38, Red Bull 36 in 7th, Racing Point 24, Alfa Romeo 10, and Haas is currently last with just 4 points on the board. But guess what, guys? We are back at it now again. We are getting loaded up and ready. We don't have to go through qualifying again. We have the custom grid already set up from the qualifying session that we had before. Hopefully this time, though, we'll have a cleaner start to our race. And again, this is round 5 of ISRL Esports Season 2, and this is Tier 3. Very short season, only 7 rounds in total, and that's because we're anticipating the new release of the new Formula 1 game. F1 2020 should be coming in July, early July if you're getting the early release option. But yeah, let's get going here again in Italy.
Yeah, it looks like we got the grid back up. I tried to make the weather as accurate as what they're telling me, and by that I just meant I put heavy rain all the way to dry, and hope the game hands us a fun little juggling with the injured scenario or something to really force these guys to choose a wise strategy and make the most of the opportunities they're given. Now I am having some very slight doubts that I didn't double check if there was a formation lap on, but I told the driver, hey, watch out which side the lights open on. If they're on the left, get ready to go. Hopefully we won't have anybody sitting on the grid there. Everybody should be paying attention.
Yeah, I think in any league race, most of the drivers will be paying attention to the race, and we'll just have to wait and see if we have a formation lap here. It looks like we do.
And whew, all right, I did remember to put it on. I'm quite happy about that. That would have been very. It's always very chaotic. You load in and immediately you're in there. You fiddling with your setup just 5 seconds ago, and you're already in the action there. So these guys are going to have a lap to get their heads back in the game, get into that post-qualifying mood that they were in, and get the race going the way it should have been just a couple of minutes ago.
Alright, so let's use this opportunity to run through the grid again to remind everybody how qualifying went. So G. Bugler is starting in first, Lorenzo in second, but that is due to a 5-position grid penalty that was inquired by Thomas Elb, who was very, very close in qualifying. I think they were separated by a total of a 10th. And then, so Lorenzo is starting in second, Klunenberg is starting in third, ISRL Lewis in fourth, Mason Harris in fifth, Joseph is starting in sixth, Thomas Elb in seventh, Maivako 8th, ISRL Tommy 9th, Yen 92 in 10th, Hartman Esports in 11th, IGK X in 12th, Jmar Mario in 13th, in 14th, Ballas Andrew 15th, and Eisen is going to be rounding up the grid in 16th place here in Monza. So a wet Monza is tricky because of a few different aspects. For me personally, I guess it's just the straight line speed and then slowing down from that into the curves. But what else do you think might play into the hands of the drivers here today?
Well, when you're racing online on this game, you're going to end up riding a lot of curbs, and obviously with water all over the track, they get quite slippery, and it's particularly tricky when you're trying to take a Scari. You ride a lot of curbs on the inside, but when it's this wet, sometimes that's all it takes, just riding there for your wheels to lose grip, and around you go. And in a corner, a set of corners like a Scari, then that's quite deadly. There's walls very, very close to the edges of the track. And I would not be surprised if we see a couple cars pointing the wrong way here in the opening laps.
Alright, so we've got everybody back on the grid now and reforming for the start. We have to do a little bit of a restart here, but now we are getting ready for round 5 of Tier 3 and ISRL Esports Season 2. The lights are on. We've got 3, 4, 5 lights on now. And we have to wait for a little bit. And There we go. Now we're off to racing here in Monza. It's a good start at the back there from the McLaren of Yen, and ISRL Lewis as well has already made up one position up into third. There's a battle for the first position between Lorenzo and G. Bugler. Let's see if they're going to make it through the first corner. G. Bugler runs wide. Lorenzo goes into the lead. ISRL Lewis manages to get a position as well. We've got some touching towards the back there between Joseph and Thomas, and ISRL Tommy is now fighting with Vaco for position as well.
Yeah, it was overall a clean start.
Oh, Tommy is off. Like he's hit the wall.
Oh. I was just about to say, it looks like nobody was pointing the wrong way, and then off Tommy goes. That's a very bad start for him, but everybody getting through the opening set of corners cleanly. Looks like we're not going to need a safety car just yet. Some big moves made all over the field.
Yeah, it looks like Klunenberg is losing a couple of positions. Oh, somebody else is off. We have Junior Mario and IGKX. They're both off the track. It looks like they made a little bit of contact into the first Lesmo.
Yeah, luckily for them, I don't think there's any big damage there, but that's a lot of time lost for the Alfa Romeo. He's going to want to get back there. Luckily for him...
Klunenberg into the back of Vaco, into Ascari, and they're both off into the gravel as well.
Yeah, it's chaos here on the first lap, just like I was talking about. That's one of the tricky corners here. Luckily for Vaco, no damage, but both Alfa Romeos all the way at the back of the grid. This is a bad start for the red and white team.
And Lorenzo is out into the lead with ISRL Lewis in second, and now it looks like Junior Mario is having a little bit of trouble defending from Yen 92, making it around the Parabolica, and Yen 92 is going to go for a move here. Let's see if he's going to be able to make it cleanly into turn 1 and 2. The first chicane is very, very tricky. It looks like we've got a couple of cars already touching into there as well, up ahead in front of them, and now Yen 92 goes around the outside. Oh, and he actually gets overtaken by Eisen around the inside, so he actually lost a position there instead of overtaking.
Yeah, that was a good try from Yen going into that corner. He stayed very, very clean with Jamie Mar.
Joseph is off.
Exit looks like Eisen was just able to squeak by there.
Joseph just went off there at the second chicane after the Curva Grande, so that's a little bit unfortunate for him, but he managed to keep the position in 6th right now. But definitely people are having some issues on these full wet tires. Around Monza in the wet is no fun at all.
Yeah, no, it's quite tricky. Like I said, a lot of how you ride this track is taken away. There's a lot of curb riding on here, and if you do that, the rear end's just going to step out. But Lewis, he's getting a little bit closer to Lorenzo there, but he got a bad exit coming out of Ascari.
Yeah, and Eisen touched the back of Joseph Cozy into Ascari as well. Joseph Cozy luckily doesn't have any damage, but Eisen definitely does. We saw a piece of his front wing flying off there, but this is unfortunate for Joseph as he rejoins on the track there, almost hitting Vaco as well. So, wow, everything is happening here in the first couple of laps. We're now on lap 3 of 27 already, and we've got some massive position changes. G. Bigler, the pole sitter, has actually went down to 3rd position now and is almost 3 seconds behind Lewis.
Yeah, so the front there just kind of exchanging positions among themselves, but towards the midfield we're seeing the biggest jumps. Eisen, he started dead last. He's already up into P8. Jamer Mario as well, up into P7 from 14th place. So some good starts from a couple of drivers, and of course Klunberg and Joseph Cozy just getting unfortunate tangles with some other cars there, sending them all the way down.
And Tommy just had to massively cut turn 2. I'm sure he got a wording for that one. Joe Dimas is trying to slow down the car into the second chicane now, and he manages to do a pretty good job of that. He was catching up onto Tommy there very quickly, but definitely that cut corner for Tommy has pulled him up ahead again.
Yeah, they both have some wing damage, or no, rather, I thought Joe Dimas had some damage, but it's just Tommy. So Tommy's going to be losing a little bit of time here. He's missing a whole right end plate on the front of that Williams. Joe Dimas is going to be looking to gain up to that Williams.
5-second penalty for cutting corners as well. So I think in this first stint where we have the wet weather, it's going to be just a job of, it's just going to be a mission of trying to keep it together. Oh, and now a Haas has spun out. Ballas Andrew is pointing completely the wrong way at the exit of Ascari now, and he has to do a 3-point turn just to get back on track. He's getting the back wheels to slip as well. This has all gone wrong for him there.
Now big wing damage on the Haas. He's definitely going to have to pit to fix that. But I don't know how many laps until it starts drying up. It's showing no signs of drying up right now. So all these drivers that are pitting right now to fix their wings, they're putting on another set of wets. And they're going to be very, very far back by the time the first round of actual pit stops shows up.
And now Yen92 is trying to make a move on Joe Dimas, but instead it looks like Joe Dimas, he was trying to put a move on ISRL Tommy, but it looks like Joe Dimas has overtaken him into turns 1 and 2 there. Very good job from him. Very clean overtake in these sort of conditions. It's definitely very, very tricky. Now it looks like Ballas Andrew has got a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. So again, lots of our drivers here today getting corner cutting penalties and all kinds of penalties in the first stint here due to this weather. And Lorenzo is now disconnected. Yeah, he's disconnected now again, and we also have a yellow flag in sector 2. I'm not sure who that is for. And now it looks like Yen92 and Myvaco almost came together there, and Myvaco manages to get ahead. Jamar Mario is going really slow, so Myvaco overtakes him as well. We have a very, very slow moving Alfa Romeo at the end of sector 2.
That must be Myvaco, and it looks like a couple people are going to end up stuck behind him going down the straight here. There's a nice train of about 4 cars all fighting for 10th place, and there's going to be a lot of position changing going on in there.
Yeah, I think it took our drivers a few laps here to get adjusted to these conditions. It looks like Lorenzo is back in the session again. I really hope that he didn't lose too much time. He still got 1.3 seconds on Lewis, but that is definitely going to play into Lewis's hands, especially if the weather clears up later on in the race. That might turn things around completely.
Yeah, Lewis taking a big chunk of time out of Lorenzo. Now he has joined the lobby.
Oh, Joe Dimas just spun through turn 1 and rejoined back on the track and completely took Myvaco out, and he's got damage now for sure.
Yeah, lots of damage on the front of that Alfa Romeo. That's probably going to be a penalty from the Mercedes. I didn't see the incident, but if you're describing it right, it looks like there was a lot of misjudgment going back on the track.
Yeah, it looked to me like Joe Dimas pretty much ran super wide through turn 1, lost the car, spun around degrees to the track back at the exit of turn 2 as Myvaco was coming through there. So he's definitely not going to be pleased with that one, and I'm sure that is going to be reviewed later on. It looks like Lorenzo has lost the lead to ISRL Lewis, so ISRL Lewis back out into the lead, and I think that disconnection from Lorenzo definitely hurt him. It's still ghosting right now.
Yeah, he's in the middle of joining back, but he lost that lead. So 3-second lead, a race for the Ferrari. Luckily for him, if he gets to rejoin just now, he's gonna be close. Oh, he's left again, so just not able to connect, I think, for Lorenzo. That's just unfortunate for him. We're gonna hope that he can get back and into contention in this race. There's still a lot of racing to do.
Absolutely, and let's take a quick look at the position changes as we have started up this race here. It looks like Lorenzo is back in again, but ISRL Lewis having a great start, moving up into first right now, having started 4th. Myvaco just got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lanes. Lorenzo is in 2nd position where he started, but unfortunately having a lot of issues with his connection. G. Bugler is down to 3rd place, having started in 1st. Mason Ayres has made up 1 position. Thomas Elba has made up 2 positions, and then Hartman and Eisen have definitely capitalize on the situation. They've got 5 and 9 positions each. It looks like somebody else have got a 5-second penalty there for corner cutting. I think it was Yend.
I do believe I saw him get one. It looks like, I don't know if it's just the changing conditions or these wet tires aren't suited for this track anymore. It is drying up a little bit, but it looks like we're seeing a couple of corner cuts, just people going wide there. especially in turn 1, and it's costing them quite dearly. Mivako, though, first one to put on the intermediate tires, and I did notice it was drying up quite a bit. Looks like he's the first one to bite the bullet there and test them out, and it doesn't look like he's struggling too hard.
So that might be a trick there that some other drivers might be able to capitalize on, but now it looks like Lorenzo, due to his connection issues, is about to lose another position as G Bugler is right on his tail, and Lorenzo keeps on joining and disconnecting, unfortunately not having a very good time here today, but he definitely had the pace in this race, and at least in the wet conditions he was doing very, very well to pull away from everybody else. But yeah, I really hate seeing this. I've had this happen to me in another league. I got disconnected on the last lap from the lead and went all the way down to 9th position. IGKX gets another 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lanes. Very unfortunate for some of our drivers here today. They have not had the start that they were hoping for.
No, and I think there's going to be some, it's going to be a long pit stop for IGKX there. He's getting his front wing changed as well. But putting the inters on, he might be able to catch that time up with pace on the racetrack. It looks like Mivako is, let's see his fastest lap here. It does look like he has a fair amount of pace on those green wall tires.
And I'm not sure if Lorenzo is back in or not. I think his car is still ghosted, but his AI is not doing too bad of a job of staying together with G Bugler. I think in these conditions, the AI does pretty good.
Yeah, and it's something I've tried to do more recently is I've instead of leaving the AI, when you create the lobby at the standard 41 or 40-ish, I bumped them up to about 80, 85, so that if you do disconnect, the AI is still competitive enough that you're not going to lose a ton of time, and it also helps a lot, you know, if the car doesn't ghost or something happens, because then he's not just a rock in the middle of the track. It's a bit more dynamic, it's a bit easier to get around them.
Yeah, and now we've got a bunch more takers for those intermediate tires. Lewis, G Begular, Mason Harris, pretty much half of the field has already pitted for those new tires for intermediates. Everybody's switching over to them.
Yeah, and it's looking like the track is just getting to that crossover point now. A lot of people taking note of Mivako and IGKX putting them on. They didn't gain too many positions, but Mivako is certainly closing the gap to the guys ahead. He's only 1.1 second behind Tommy here. He was a bit further than that before the pit stop. So good call from him getting himself back into this race.
Yeah, I was just watching as Jamar Mario, who's still running on those wets, is really struggling on them and has just lost the position to G Bugler and Mason Harris, both of them running on the intermediates. It's mostly having trouble putting the power down on track as they're coming out of corners. Oh, we've got a yellow flag in sector 1 and 2. I don't see any major incidents. I think it was probably somebody just being a little bit slow there. Jamar Mario running through very wide through Ascari. Let's see if he's going to be able to keep it together until he makes it to the pits and changes over from those tires. Lorenzo's AI, or maybe it's him again, but they have made the pit as well and also changed over to the intermediates, as now ISRL Lewis is just crossing the line. So Lorenzo is down to second now, coming out of the pits. Let's see if he's back in the session here. I think he might be. I don't see his car ghosting anymore.
It's still a little bit.
Never mind.
I think he might be. It's changing for me. It looks unghosted, and then it does look ghosted from certain angles. So hopefully for him, he gets back in here soon, though. Yeah, he's poor guy.
Joe Dimas has spun out in the Parabolica, right in the middle of the Parabolica there, hit the wall, and he's definitely got some damage. He almost made it back to the pits, but he was so close and just one lap too late. And he's continuing on.
He's gonna stay out, I think. I don't know what's going on in his mind there. Maybe he thinks the wet tires are still getting a bit more grip, but it's quite obvious just looking at this racetrack that the intermediates are better. So IGKX goes right through turn 1. He's doing a very good job navigating those bollards though, and rejoining safely.
Yeah, and I'm watching on board now. Mivako is actually missing a front end plate on the right side. The IGK-X got a 5-second penalty for that little maneuver either way, even though he had to go off track, and he continued. Oh, Mivako almost losing the car in the first Lesmo, going very wide, touching the gravel there, and having to catch the back of the car again.
Oh, Jamer Mario is not facing the right way there between the two Lesmos, and he's got no front wing.
That is very unfortunate for him. He's definitely not had a very good race so far in this Italian Grand Prix. I mean, for us as commentators and as viewers, Monza is in the wet is something to pray for, but for these drivers, it's probably the worst case scenario.
No, it's such a tough track. It's heavy braking, heavy accelerating, and very high-speed corners. Three things that don't mix that well with wet weather. So it's one of the fastest tracks, and as such, it's one of the most challenging tracks to do on the wets.
And I just saw notice that Lorenzo has left the session again. I really feel for him with all of this connection BS going on. I really hope that Codemasters look into that and figure out a way for us to be able to connect to each other a little bit smoother. I mean, you know, other games like iRacing and other ones can do a slightly better job at that. So I'm not sure what it's really down to, but now G Bugler is catching up to the AI of Lorenzo one more time, and J-Mart Mario has decided to call it a day in the pits.
Yeah, not the Grand Prix he was hoping for. So he's our first retirement, which is actually kind of surprising considering what kind of incidents we have seen so far in the Grand Prix. I'm honestly surprised that we haven't seen more guys retire the car, but looks like Junior Mario is the first one to do though.
So we are down to 15 runners as G Bugler sets the fastest lap with a 131.6 on those intermediate tires. He's only done 3 laps on them, so I'm not sure exactly how the weather is going to play out for the rest of the race, but I would imagine that he can do quite a few more laps on those and then really wait until the lap dries up and the track dries up and you can switch over to some dry tires. Ultimately, I think our drivers will be hoping that this slightly wet weather stays until maybe lap 20 or so, and then you get 6 laps on the dry tires in Monza. That's perfect.
It's no matter how this pans out, it's certainly going to be a very exciting end. Lorenzo joining looks like he's just unsure how to take control of his car. He has to go to the spectator menu. Lorenzo, if you're listening, go to the spectator menu and scroll over to your name. You should have a button prompt to take back control of your car. Just don't do it in a corner because you do take control of it essentially right away. IGK-X having another moment in turn 1, having to go through the bollards again, joining much slower, but takes a 10-second anyways. I don't know about you. I think we might be able to get the stewards to take a look at that and waive them because he did follow all the regulations set out on the racetrack for rejoining safely if you go there.
Absolutely.
Went around the bollards, he took his time, he accelerated very slowly. Probably going to be able to waive those penalties as long as it doesn't serve them in the pits.
And speaking of penalties, a 3-second time penalty goes out to Hardman Esports, unfortunately. He's currently running in 6th place. He's got 1 lap younger tires than everybody ahead of him. So that might play into his hands a little bit later as long as this weather sticks with us. But we're now currently on lap 12 of 27, so getting close to midway here. And I do see a couple of breaks in the clouds now as we're coming across the finish line together with Mivako, who's looking to be catching up on Eisen very, very quickly. So maybe, possibly, we might see a clearing here very, very soon.
Yeah, and it's been getting a little bit lighter and lighter, the rain, for the past couple of laps here. Nowhere close enough from the slicks. I don't think any drivers are thinking about that just yet. Looks like this light rain is here to stay, as Jeff would say, but it is going to end dry. We know that for sure because that's what the previous weather forecast dictated, and that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, and Eisen there was catching up on Mivako, but then Mivako managed to make the overtake, and now Eisen is losing time and definitely losing the back of the car on certain corners here, especially at the exits. Now he's got ISRL Tommy catching up to him, and ISRL Joseph Cozy behind him as well, very, very close behind. So this might turn out to be very interesting. But up ahead at the front, Mason Harris is catching up to his teammate, who unfortunately is still having connection issues. He's showing currently disconnected on track, so I really don't know how to express my condolences to Lorenzo for this situation, because it is so unfortunate. I mean, what can you do, really?
I mean, he's able to get in the lobby, he's able to spectate. He should be able to go to the spectator menu, and in the driver select option, he should be able to hit square on himself. And then there's an option to take control. But looks like he's not able to find it, unfortunately. But it is right there. It's I don't know if you can show it to him on stream there so that he can see it, but it is an option. He should be able to take control as long as he can get back in the lobby. Just have to hit the square button, and then on the driver select you hit X, Lorenzo. But hopefully he can get back in here. We still have 14 laps of racing to do. He's still in the podium spots, and he's not that far down the road from the Renault and the McLaren ahead. So it's not all hope is lost here for Lorenzo.
So yeah, Lorenzo, I'm just showing you right here. There's spectate, view profile, and then there's also take control. All you have to do is just go to your driver name and hit X, and it will show you this menu. So hopefully you can get rejoined here again. We would really hope to see you finish up on that podium at the least. I think he's still got a very good chance of that, as Mason Harris is, I mean, his AI is doing pretty good against Mason Harris right now.
Yeah, like I said, I did tune up the AI so that our drivers, they should all have the pace to pass the AI. It might take them a lap or two, but that way the AI doesn't get in the way, doesn't ruin the flow of the race. And if you disconnect, it's not a death sentence. It's rather just a kind of a small price to pay.
Alright, so we are now on lap 14, so we've done 50% of our full race length here today. Currently following around with Joseph Cozy. Oh, he just runs really wide through turn 1 and has to rejoin back on the track, so that's definitely going to hurt him there a little bit. We've had a couple of situations and upsets already in this race, especially with Lorenzo having some connection issues and dropping from the lead of the race. He's currently in 4th place, but not too far behind his teammate Mason Harris. ISRL Lewis has done a very good job. Oh, who was that there?
Azen had a big moment there. Both Tommy and Azen both going through the first chicane there, getting a little bit sideways, and
X with another 10
both very lucky. Oh, that's bad for him. But yeah, both very lucky to keep control of that car. X just from bad to worse here. I don't know if he had to go through turn 1 again. It looked like he was on that bit of racetrack when he did, but he needs to be careful because he might be coming up too many penalties accumulated. The game might disqualify him if he doesn't clean up his act, as Jeff would like to say.
Oh, Joe Dimas is in the wall at the exit of turn 1. I think that's going to be the end of the race for him. But I have good news. Lorenzo is back in the session. His car is showing a very bad connection, but it's at least there. And he is definitely back in control of his car and is back into 3rd position now.
Yeah, immediately overtook his teammate there. Looks like he finally figured out how to do it. That's very good for him. Now he has an 8-second gap to catch up to G Bugler in the Renault. An 8-second gap after that to get to ISRL Lewis. Might be able to carve out a huge chunk of it if he just pits for the soft tires at the right moment. Might be able to get kind of an undercut there, but I'm seeing this track drawing up and I'm not seeing any rain here, so it definitely is getting a lot closer to the dry tires.
And speaking of the dry tires, we've got the first taker. Hardman Esports has gone on a medium.
That's a good call for him. The soft tires around here, they're gonna last 12 laps if you're very, very careful on them, but when you're racing here, it should only last about 8, 9 to 10 laps. So putting the medium tires on, He's not going to have to pit again, that's for sure. But looking at him, this track is still very, very slippery. Might just have been one lap too early for Hartman.
Oh, Lewis just got a 5-second penalty for corner cutting, so I think he's starting to have a bit of trouble on those intermediates. But Hartman is losing time on the medium tire, so it's not looking like this track is just about ready for dry tires just yet.
It's getting very close though. Usually the way you judge it is that when you're driving, if there's a little bit of mist coming off your tires, it's still too wet. When it stops, that's usually the crossover point. Looks like it has stopped for now for Hartman, and I think that's yeah, there's Lewis pitting for, or is that oh, I was
Thomas.
seeing orange. It was actually, yeah, it was actually a Renault. So
and DRS is enabled now.
It is, and that's how you know for sure that you need to get off the intermediate tires. If DRS is enabled, the track is dry enough for the softs, no questions asked. So we're going to see everybody diving into the pits here.
Yeah, and now we've got Tommy and Eisen, both of them in the pits, both go on the soft tire. 11 laps on the soft tire around here. I guess you can make that work, but it's going to be interesting to see if tire wear is going to come into play for them later on towards the end of the race. Thomas is catching up very, very quickly on my Vaco, so that definitely shows you that the track is now fully ready. Hartman Esports has not really been able to capitalize on that whole situation too much, but now he's going to have some people that will stop in front of him, but he needs to close in that time if he wants to overtake some people in the pits. Thomas is now very, very close to my Vaco. He might be able to overtake here before they get to the pits. They're coming out of Ascari. My Vaco almost loses the car there, manages to keep it together.
Double stack for Ferrari here. Mason Harris is going to lose some time, but it's interesting to see Lewis grabbing the medium tires, but G Bugler right behind him on the softs, and I don't know what happened to Lewis. Remember, there's an 8-second gap here. It's only 6 seconds now, so it looks like he probably served a penalty in the pits, and that's dropped him right into the site of the Renault. We're going to see a charge here at the end. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, there we go. Thomas Elb is just overtaken Mason Harris at the exit of the pits. Lorenzo is back into third place, and he's only 6.3 seconds behind G Bugler, so he's definitely going to put on the attack, and his pace around here has definitely shown us that he's got some pace, so hopefully he'll be able to close in some of those positions and maybe make an attack towards the end of the race. I'm watching now as his teammate Mason Harris is trying to make a move on Thomas Elb. They're both running on brand new soft tires. It looks like Mason Harris just came out of the pits now, but Thomas Elb has been on those tires for the one lap so far, so I'm not sure if that's really going to play anything, but they're battling already, and now Mason Harris has DRS running down into Ascari. Let's see if he's going to be close enough. Going on board with him now as they're coming into Ascari. Not quite close enough just yet on that occasion, but give it another lap or two, and I'm sure that he's going to be close enough. Oh, running really wide at the exit of Ascari now, touching the gravel, but doesn't lose the car there at all.
Oh, Balaz Andrew is out of the session. I think that's it coming out of Ascari. And yeah, it is. And it looks like he hit that wall on the inside. Definitely a wheel off.
And we have a safety car.
We do, and that's going to bunch the field up. This is going to absolutely shake everything up. These guys that are running on the softs here now have a huge advantage. And initially, it really paid off for Hartman. He got himself up to P6 with that smart pit stop, but now he's going to be on a slower tire compound in a sea of soft tire compounds, and these guys just got a couple free laps on them, so it's no longer going to be a question of whether or not they can last until the end, and rather who is faster on them.
This is incredible so far. I mean, we couldn't have even scripted this Grand Prix better. We had the rain at the start of the race, going into the dry. As soon as we hit the dry, we had a DNF in the form of Balaz Andrew losing the car at the exit of Ascari, and that created a safety car. And as you said, now this has just fallen right into the hands of all of the soft tire runners, as ISRL Thomas gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So now, all that G Bugler needs to do for the last, it's going to be about, what, 8 laps that we're going to have to race on. All he needs to do is stay within 3 seconds. He's got the win, but Lorenzo is also going to be closing in on them, and they're all going to be closed up together.
Disconnected again.
Oh no!
Lorenzo just disconnected. He knows how to get back in now. It's going to be a matter of of just doing that again. He's not going to, hopefully not have to join and disconnect a bunch of times. But yeah, so he's back in this Grand Prix here. Oh, and Tommy getting a drive-through penalty. He's not going to be able to serve that under safety car. He has to wait until the restart, and that's going to cost him very, very dearly. Third in the championship, Tommy. I don't think it's going to be the case after this race. That drive-through is going to send him all the way to the back of the field.
And now IGKX is disqualified for ignoring yellow flag.
So IGKX, it looks like, took just another penalty there, and it probably bumped him up over the 30 seconds. Of course, a lot of those weren't warranted. He was navigating turn one as best he could within the regulations, but of course, the game does still tag you on that, and it doesn't really distinguish between whether or not you did it on purpose or it was an accident. And looks like a couple of mistakes there for IGKX, and possibly disqualified. Haven't seen him pull over to the side of the track yet, though.
So just everything happening now. Tommy gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits, and he retires in pit lane. So he's out of the points. I guess he's thought that he's had enough for today with all of the penalties that he's got going on. But wow, we've had everything happening in this Grand Prix. We had to do a restart because we had a little bit of a glitch start. Now my Vaco gets another 3-second penalty. We have a safety car. We had wet weather in Monza. We're going on to the dry tires. We had people playing strategy games with that pit stop, but now it looks like it didn't work out for Lewis as well as he wanted to, and as far as I remember, he still got a 3-second time penalty to his name as well. We have 3 retirements so far in the forms of ISRL Tommy, Ballas Andrew, who brought out this current safety car that we're currently under, and Jamar Mario, who retired earlier on after switching over to the intermediate tire, unfortunately not having a very good race. My Vaco has now decided to retire as well. He was in the points, and even with all the penalties and stuff, I mean, you never know how many...
Yeah, I think my Vaco actually might have had a moment there. I see a car parked at the exit of Ascari, and and it looks like he's hit the wall under a safety car. So, I mean, Vaco, he was running very well, and I don't know what happened. Probably just pushing a little bit too hard to catch up to the field here. And unfortunately, that's going to cost him the race. Now, we did get notification that IGKX had been disqualified from the game. That does not appear to be the case. He definitely is still in control of his car a couple of laps later.
Alright, so maybe if he is able to finish the race, that is something that the stewards will be able to take a look at, and you never know, with other people's penalties and incidents and reviews, you might still able to get some good points here today. So IGK, keep it together, hold it still, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. He is in 10th right now. He's had a few penalties that I don't think will be waived, but definitely the ones in turn one might get removed from his time. So might be hope still for him to get his first point here in Tier 3 today. He's definitely in position to do that right now if he can just hold on and hope that the guys behind him get more penalties than him at the end.
Yeah, and since I'm looking at the safety car here, it looks like it's going to be continuing on for another lap, so we're only going to get 6 laps of green flag racing at the end of this Italian Grand Prix here for Tier 3 of ISRL Esports Season 2. We also have Tier 2 and Tier 1 coming on later on today right here in Monza. We don't know how their weather is going to play out, so stick with us, tune in for those ones as well, and we'll see how those races are going to play out for those 2 tiers. But so far in Tier 3, all of the first 4 races, and this one is the 5th race in this season as well, they've all been absolutely incredibly exciting from start to finish, and hopefully we'll get another exciting finish here right at the end of this one.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be that way. I just hope these drivers can catch up to the safety cars. Should be coming in this lap regardless, but guys like IGKX, he's been actually pushing quite hard to catch up to the queue here, finally getting up to the end of it there, and that means his soft tires are going to be slightly more worn than the guys ahead who've been sitting there going a little bit slower just keeping heat in them for the past couple of laps. So, you know, he made up that ground, caught up to the back of it, but he needs to get those tires cooled down and conserve them in these opening laps after the safety car if he wants a chance to get to the end on them.
All right, we're coming to the end of the second sector right now, so I'm waiting for that message to come up. There it is. Safety car is in this lap. And now Lewis has a huge job to do on his hands. He's on a slightly harder tire. He's on a medium compared to the softs of everybody behind him. And G. Bugler and Lorenzo have definitely showed us today that they have some good pace. This has played into the hands of Lorenzo after all of the disconnection issues that he's had. So I am going to be expecting a huge battle for the last few laps here as we get restarted in Italy in just a moment.
Absolutely, and Lewis, he's gonna have a disadvantage in terms of pace here at the start. He's gonna get started very shortly. I believe he's going now, but near the end of this race, near lap 26, 27, his tires are gonna have the pace advantage. So his job right now is just to set a big enough gap so that G. Bugler and Lorenzo behind him cannot catch up by the time their tires start dropping off the cliff. If he's ahead when their tires start losing grip, I think Lewis can win this race.
And it looks like it was a very good restart for Lorenzo, G. Bugler, and ISRL Lewis. The three of them really pulled ahead of everybody else. Thomas Elb is already over a second behind them and losing time to Mason Harris, the other Ferrari on track as well. Let's switch over there and see if they're going to be battling here as well. But so far, ISRL Lewis is about 7/10 away from G. Bugler. Lorenzo seems to be closing in on G. Bugler very, very quickly right now as they're coming through the second Lesmo on lap 22 of 27. We're only going to have 5 more laps to go. No DRS just yet, as we did have a safety car that just ended 1 lap ago, so we're going to have to wait for a couple more laps for DRS, but Lorenzo is not waiting for anything. He is keeping a very good pace and keeping a very good lap. Oh, and now Lewis is off! He's hit the wall and he's retired. He's DNF at the exit of Ascari. It's all over for him, and now Lorenzo is going down the inside of G. Bugler into the Parabolica. Thinks twice about it, sticks to the back of him. Joe Dimmons is getting a bunch of penalties at the back, but wow, that's it. That's over for Lewis.
I don't know if he did not get the heat he needed in those tires, but just losing the rear end. Oh, Lorenzo going at it again there, going into turn 1.
Let's see how this is going to play out now. He goes for the switchback, and let's see if that's going to work out. He gets a pretty good exit, but gets a little bit shaky after going over the curb there. G. Bugler is not really pulling ahead from him much, but Lorenzo tries to go around the outside, around Curva Grande, and now just trying to break. I'm not sure if he's just trying to put some pressure on him into the braking zones, but G. Bugler is holding the position so far, and behind him, Mason Harris is now caught up to 3rd place, so it might be a 1-2 or a 1-3 finish for Ferrari here today, as long as Lorenzo can get back up into the lead. He's very, very close to G. Bugler now on the back straight.
Yeah, and going into Ascari here, I don't think he's going to be making a move, but he wants to get the good exit on the Renault and kind of slingshot himself here on this main straight, and it's certainly looking like he's going to be able to do that. Look how close they're getting.
They're very, very close now, almost touching the back of G. Bugler. Lorenzo is as they're coming into Parabolica. Lorenzo tries to do a wider entrance into the corner, but instead he actually gets his car to step out wide a little bit, and he actually lost a bit of time there. Now DRS is enabled, so the next time they come out of Lesmo corners, Lorenzo, as long as he's going to be within a second of G. Bugler, is going to have DRS on him, and we only have 3 more laps to go in this Grand Prix. It's all kicking off towards the lead of this Grand Prix now. Towards the back, it looks like everybody has sort of stretched out by about a second or 2.
Yeah, and looks like the pack is kind of thinning out, like you said. Joseph Cozy, he's running comfortably in P5, had a bit of a moment coming out of turns 1 and 2 there, but he's kept it under control, looking good so far today. Yen and IGKX as well, racing behind him, hoping to catch up. Oh, Mason Harris, what happened there?
Mason Harris has spun off, it looks like, and he is out of the... We've got a safety car on lap 24 of 27.
And oh my goodness, so this safety car is going to be coming in before lap 26. This game lets you finish under green, but it's gonna bunch the field up again, and it's gonna be interesting to see if maybe anybody towards the end of it, like Hartman, pits for brand new softs, so that he has just the pace advantage. But it's gonna be a very short one. These guys need to get bunched up really quickly and get started. It's amazing how we've lost more cars here in the dry than we did in the wet so far this race. Everyone's just pushing so hard.
Absolutely incredible, unbelievable. Lewis, out of the lead of the Grand Prix, completely took himself out at the exit of Ascari, and then Mason Harris just a lap later followed suit, but I think he lost it in Lesmo somewhere, and absolutely lost the car and DNF'd as well. He was running in 3rd place. He was on the podium together with Lorenzo and G. Bugler. Now Eisen is on the podium in 3rd place. Joseph Cozy is currently in 4th, so if he manages to keep to that position, that's going to be quite a bit of points for him, and he will bounce up quite a few positions in the standings. I mean, Lorenzo right now, what do you think his chances are of taking the lead of this Grand Prix and taking the win?
Oh, I'd say they're pretty high. We've seen him be all over the back of that Renault, and he's not going to have a lot of time to do it, that's for sure. But he's not going to have DRS either. That's an important thing to note. DRS will be disabled until the end. He's going to have to do this on pure pace, but I think he has it in him. He's has something to prove here after disconnecting for much of this race, still being at the front of the field. But another driver, I think we did not really mention, I don't think we even quite noticed that that it happened, but they were running very well in 4th time. Exact same time, exact same corner as ISRL Lewis. So another one dropping all the way from the front of the grid because of this Ascari corner.
Yeah, and the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. We just got that message, and G. Bugler is going to have to pace out the field. He's trying to get some heat into his tires. Lorenzo now, this is pretty much his chance to shine and take the lead of this Grand Prix and take the win back away from G. Bugler. G. Bugler also had not the best of starts. He dropped from the pole position that he was supposed to start in into 3rd place right on lap 1, and then had to close in that gap back again in the wet conditions. It looks like he's going now. No, he's still heating up this tire, so he's really pacing out the field. There we go. Now G. Bugler steps on the gas and he's off again. Lorenzo sort of gets a good start on him now. Eisen and Joseph behind there, actually battling right now for position. Joseph is trying to go into turn 1 around the outside. Let's see how this is going to play out.
Joseph not shy here. He's en route for a very good result, but
Eisen runs super wide, gets a 3-second time penalty, and he keeps the position, but I'm sure that that is a position that he's going to lose right now, and he does to ISRL Joseph. He goes around him, and Hartman gets a 5-second penalty as well. Up ahead of them, Lorenzo is only just under 2/10 behind G. Bugler, and definitely putting on the pressure.
He's getting close. I said he has it in him.
We've got a yellow flag. It's IGKX and Eisen have crashed.
Oh no.
And now Joseph in 3rd. He's on the podium.
I think that's damage for IGKX and Eisen, but Joseph Cozy getting himself up nicely at the front, looking strong for his first podium, but ahead of him, these two guys are fighting. Anything could happen here. Joseph just has to keep the car parked on the racetrack and keep it steady. Who knows, he might get something higher. Lorenzo closing in on G. Bugler up ahead.
And we're about to start the last lap of this Grand Prix as we're watching G. Bugler going around the Parabolica, and Lorenzo very, very close behind him. We only have one more lap of opportunity to overtake for Lorenzo. He's come from a disconnection, from losing a couple of positions, from battling through wet, dry, and all kinds of conditions, and 2 safety cars right towards the end of this race. And now he's got one more lap to see if he can take the win here today as well. If he manages to do that, I mean, that's going to be a comeback for the history books.
Absolutely. He didn't drop super far back, but he lost a lot of time here, managed to get himself back in the race, and here he is, half a lap to go. He's right behind the leader and looking to make his move. He only has 2 more good opportunities into Ascari and into the Parabolica. We're going to see what he has in store for us.
So G Bugler, this is a chance for him to get redemption for the last couple of bad races that he's had before obviously getting the win after penalties and everything has been issued for the last Grand Prix, but I'm sure he really wants to take this one clean on track from pole to the win. It would be an incredible redemption for him and a really good sign of things to come. There we go. Now Lorenzo gets a beautiful run out of Ascari. G Bugler is trying to defend off. Let's see if this is going to happen now. There's only one corner to go, and that's the Parabolica. Lorenzo tries to get a wider run on the inside. G Bugler runs a little bit wide. Let's see if this is going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough. G Bugler is going to cross the line, and he's going to win this Grand Prix in Italy. Lorenzo gets second place. Oh, Joseph gets promoted to second. I'm guessing Lorenzo had a penalty.
It looks like it. Joseph Cozy coming home for his first podium, and after last weekend's race in Japan, I'm sure he must be absolutely ecstatic at that. He is going to finish on the podium no matter what here, even if Lorenzo appeals that penalty. So Joseph Cozy with his best result of the season. Worth noting, Azen, he saw him spin out on lap 26. He got himself all the way back up, I believe, into P4.
That is incredible, but what a finish to this Grand Prix here today. Everything that could have possibly happened here today in Monza has definitely happened for Tier 3 drivers of ISRL Esports Season 2. We are now gone through 5 rounds of only 7 total for this Season 2, so this has definitely been very, very instrumental for some of our drivers like Lorenzo and Joseph Cozy bumping themselves up into some good positions in the overall standings. Let's run through the finishing grid here again to remind ourselves what happened here today. So G Bugler in first place after getting pole as well. Joseph Cozy coming from 6th on the grid for second at the moment as things stand. Lorenzo finishing third, having started in 2nd. Eisen coming from 16th on the grid to finish 4th. Hartman Esports coming from 11th to finish 5th. And Yen92 from 10th to 6th as well. IGKX managing to recover from 12th to 7th place. Klunenberg dropping all the way down to 8th place at the end of this Grand Prix, having started 3rd, and then Joe Dimas finished in 9th place for the last actual finisher on the grid as Mason Harris, ISRL Lewis, Thomas Held, Vaco Tommy, Ballas Andrew, and J. Mario all retired due to either retirements in the pits or due to incidents like we had in the last couple of laps of this Grand Prix and brought out the last 2 safety cars, the only 2 safety cars. I mean, I would be expecting them to come out in the wet.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of retirements there at the end. I think everyone's just battling that much harder to be able to get those final positions there. They're realizing, all right, well, laps are running out. The safety car punched the backup, and chaos ensued here. So let's see if we can get some people in here for an interview. I'm gonna have to suggest them to you. You have to accept them, but we'll send those invites actually.
Yeah, I was just trying to add Joseph Cozy, but he's in another party with a bunch of people, so we'll see if we're able to. I'm just invited G Bugler now, and Lorenzo going out and invite him right now as well.
Let's hope our winners can join. This was an absolutely fantastic race. Let's hope, for the sake of everyone else racing this weekend, that the weather dumped the last of its rain on this circuit. We're both racing later today. I'm sure we both very much enjoy a dry track, but we're gonna have to wait and see. We still got 2 more races to go here today. Both Tier 2, Tier 1. Tier 2 is coming up in just under half an hour, and Tier 1 at 4 p.m. EST, 9 p.m. British Summer Time. We have some of our leaders here, so we're going to let you do the honors.
I think our winner is with us. G Bugler, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, man. Well, congratulations. As I said at the very end of that stream there, I think this for you was a very good redemption race of getting the pole, getting the win, all on track, all clean, not due to penalties or anything else like that. It was all down to you today. So congratulations on that. Tell us how it went and walk us through it.
First of all, we started in the rain, and I hate the rain. So turn 1, I slightly missed the braking point. and then I lost 2 places due to Lorenzo and Lewis, I think. Yeah, and from there on, yeah, a nice race. I think I managed to get Lewis on the drive tires, and in the end to yeah, leave Lorenzo behind me. So good win, I think.
And you were right behind Lewis when he spun out there at the exit of Ascari. Can you tell us what happened to him?
Yeah, I think he hit the last curb on the from Ascari. Yeah, and then you will lose the car. So unfortunately for him, but he drove a great race as well. Until then.
Knight, do you have any questions for our winner here today?
Not a whole ton. You and Lorenzo had an absolutely great battle towards the end. Looking forward to hopefully seeing some of that next week and in our season finale. Did you think he was going to be able to get you at any point?
I think if he had 1 or 2 more laps, probably, because on the last lap he was pretty close. So happily he didn't. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Great race to you. Big 25 points that should get you past Lewis in the standings, if I remember correctly. But someone else who's getting a ton of points today, first career podium, finishing in 2nd after penalties were applied. Joseph, can you hear us?
Very good.
That's right.
This is true. I completely forgot about that. My apologies. But take us through this race. Oh, I'll hold you right there, Joseph. I think we can't hear you on the stream. So we'll you'll just have to go to your broadcasting settings and share your mic audio quickly. But until then, we will get right back to you. Lorenzo, are you with us?
Yep.
Hello, Lorenzo, you here?
Hello.
All right, yes, we can hear you now. Well, congratulations on podium finish there, but I'm sure that you were trying to fight for the win here today. You definitely had the pace at the start of the race. Unfortunate for you, and I absolutely feel for you exactly how unfortunate that is, because it happened to me a couple of times before. Getting the disconnections and trying to reconnect back. Walk us through that.
Yep, I had a good start, and I was pulling away, but I got kicked out, and then I didn't know how to take control of the car, and when I took it I was P3, and then safety cars saved me, and then yeah, I got a penalty under safety car when I wasn't even in the game. I saw lap 19, so I didn't get a penalty. Maybe the AI got it. And yeah, then I was close to Renault, but my teammate crashed and brought out the safety car for the second time, and I didn't have space to overtake him.
Yeah, it was still a very good lap. We're very happy that you were able to take control of that car because it gave us quite a finish there. Is there... You obviously you missed a big chunk of the wet portion of this race. Didn't get to quite gamble on the strategy calls there, but was there a reason for going to softs instead of mediums at the end?
Everyone did go on softs, I think, because they lasted.
Yeah, we were thinking it was going to be close without that last safety car. How was the wear on them?
It was good, and I thought that the safety car would come out like lap 20 or 21 when it did, and we had a few laps, so they were going to last. And so unfortunate for Lewis, I saw him go off, and also my teammate. We were in good positions, but things happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't want to take risks because I was lucky enough that I joined and safety car came out, so yeah, maybe one lap or two.
Good run.
And
It was very exciting to watch your battling and everything and making back up the positions that you lost under the disconnection. So hopefully that won't happen to you again, and we're expecting some good things for you for the rest of the season.
Yep, thanks. So I got P2 or P3?
P3 technically when penalties were applied, but I mean, I'm not sure if you're going to be submitting it for review or whatever, but you know, you might be able to be P2 because you did finish P2 on track, but Joseph was about a second and a half behind you.
Yeah, so when I got the penalty, and it was lap 19 when 60K was out, and I don't know what happened there.
If you just report it to the stewards, we'll take a look. Maybe you'll be able to get P2. Would be a nice haul of points either way. A lot more than Japan last week, and I'm sure you're happy to put that weekend behind you. But thank you, Lorenzo. That was absolutely a great performance out there.
Thank you.
And Joseph, let's see if we can hear you now. We're gonna check on stream. Oh man, this is always chaotic. Joseph, either way, you got a podium. Tell us about it. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a nice haul. Should get you up in the standings. BLIN?
Yeah, congratulations, Joseph. I mean, it's incredible to see you performing at the top of the table now, and these points are definitely going to help you out in terms of total overall standings. Were you expecting to be doing this well in this season so far?
Absolutely. Great result for you. As like I said, you got to be happy with that after a tough weekend last time around in Japan. But great race to all the drivers. This was definitely exciting. We are going to be back in just under 15 minutes from now for our Tier 2 race. BLIN, do you have any parting words here?
Just want to thank everybody who joined us today for this stream, who bared with us through the restart and all of those sort of issues that we had. But it's been a great Grand Prix, and join us for Tier 2 and Tier 1 later on today, as well as next week again for the rest of Tier 3. We've got 2 more races to go in this season. It's been an amazing season so far, and it's been a great time commentating with you again.
Yeah, hopefully everyone who's still watching the stream will be able to catch that. And don't forget to do all that good stuff like liking and sharing so that we can increase the kind of support we get in this league. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.